Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another Small Engines Questions and Answers. We're nearing the end of April and as you can see we still have some snow in the bush. This is quite odd for this time of the year over here. We had so much snow this winter and it's been cold and it's just taking forever for that snow to melt. However, it's been good for snowblower business. What I'm trying to do now is clear out my shop of all these snowblowers. And this blower over here is a Honda HS928 and it's been in my shop for over a month. That's because some parts have been on back order. Just so you guys know, if your Honda snowblower does break inside the gearboxes, it's going to be very expensive. The best thing you can do for your Honda snowblower is if you have a grease fitting over here on the side panel, is to make sure you put grease through that fitting every season. And the grease comes inside this bushing over here. If you don't grease it, it's going to get worn out like this one. And in turn, it's going to cause damage to your gears and then your blower will not have a drive anymore. In the first question today, a YouTuber asked me, why is it that my Stihl 034 chainsaw has a lot of kickback when I go to start it? He already told me that he checked the flywheel key, which would have been one of the first things I would have told him to check. If the flywheel key is broken, it can cause it to be off timing and kick back hard when you go to start it. Now his 034 AV is an older chainsaw similar to this one. This is an 038 AV. And these saws usually have 2 piston rings on the piston and they have no decompression port for when you start it. And sometimes I find that it's just extremely high compression that causes that kickback. I've had some older people bring some saws into me and say I just can't start it, it's jammed up, it's too hard to pull over, and it ended up just being that the compression's high. You do have to pull it over quite quickly in order for it not to kick back sometimes. If the spark plug's getting older, you should replace it. It may make it easier to start it. When they're hard to pull over like that, it's usually not something wrong with the saw, because once they start, they usually run good. Previously, I posted a video of me cleaning the carbon off the exhaust port of this old saw here, and somebody asked me, how long does it take for carbon to build up in the exhaust port? Well, it usually can take a few years, but again, it depends on various factors such as how you mix your gas. If you put too much oil in your gas, it will build up a lot quicker. Also, if you don't rev up your engine as high when you use your saw, it will build up a bit more carbon. However, if you've mixed your fuel and oil properly, it can take several years for it to build up high like it did in the video. Personally, I mix my own fuel at 45:1. That's 100 milliliters of oil to 4.5 liters of gas. I personally don't have a problem with my saws building up carbon, but I do once in a while take off the mufflers and check for carbon buildup. You can do this every year or two depending on how much you use your saw. And I'm also going to put a link to the video of me cleaning the exhaust port on that 038 AV chainsaw. In my next question, a YouTuber asked me, why does the choke lever on my Weedeater keep going down like this? He told me it used to stay up like this one here does, but now it just flops down. So therefore, when he's using his machine, the choke comes on and it stops it from running properly, or he has to tape it up to keep it from going back down. So he's wondering, how do I repair that? Well, usually you either have to get a brand new carb or just replace the choke lever. You would have to put the choke in this position, pull out the butterfly, pull out the plastic lever, and reinsert a new one, and then reinsert the butterfly. It can be a bit of a pain to locate the part number for this choke lever, but if you go to your Poulin dealer, he may be able to do that for you. This Weedeater actually has a Walbro carb, and it's a WT669, and by using those numbers, it can be easier to locate the part. Also, another problem that people often run into with these machines is that the primer bulb gets cracked, and in order to replace that bulb, all you have to do is remove the 2 screws over here, take off the plate, remove the primer bulb, put in your new bulb, and reinsert the plate and the screws. That's all there is to it. They often get cracked over time and from being in storage, and then when you go to use it, there's just gas coming out. It's not hard to do, just give it a try and you should be able to do it. The primer bulbs are usually under $10, and by replacing it, your machine can run good again and be easier to start. Now, another question I get in regards to 4-cycle engines is, if I break the muffler studs inside the block, can I just thread in a muffler instead of drilling out the holes and retapping them and putting bolts? Well, my answer to that is yes. If you have threads inside the exhaust port like this engine here, you can screw in a muffler there. Here's an older muffler with threads, and you can just screw it in there and you're good to go. You won't have the same muffler, but it will save you a lot of work from drilling out the broken studs inside the block. If it's on a Tecumseh engine like this, you want to make sure that the muffler doesn't interfere with the shroud, and then just screw it in. Most mufflers come with a locking nut here on the muffler shaft. You just screw in the muffler and then you tighten up the nut to keep it tight. So if you break some muffler studs and you want to save yourself a lot of time and labor, just screw in a muffler inside the threads. Another question I got the other day is, do you prefer a lawnmower that is self-propelled from the front wheels or the rear wheels? Well, my answer to that is I prefer a lawnmower that is self-driven from the back wheels. I find the traction is much better. Here's a lawnmower that I personally own, and this one is rear-wheel drive. I just find there's more weight on the back wheels and therefore the traction is much better. Also, I prefer a lawnmower that has variable speed when it is self-driven. Anytime people ask me what lawnmower should I get it self-driven from the front wheels or the back, I always tell them get it self-driven from the back wheels. I've had a lot of people come in and tell me my lawnmower is self-propelled but the wheels always spin, and that's because it's driven from the front wheels. Now that's my opinion when it comes to self-propelled lawnmowers. Feel free to post your comments under today's video to let us know what you prefer. Also, another question I get often about these Weedeaters is what size of string should I use in the head? Well, for these smaller Weedeaters, I use a .065 line. It's not too big, it's actually pretty small, and it fits perfectly in the Weedeater heads. If you put string that's too big in these small Weedeaters, it can actually bog them down. Also, at this time of the year in Canada, a lot of people are putting away their snowblowers, and I often get asked, how should I put it away for the summertime? Well, under today's video, there's a link that takes you to one of my videos that shows you how to put away your snowblower for the summertime. Make sure to watch the video. You're going to find a lot of good tips in there that'll show you what to do to make sure that it starts for the next snowfall. That'll be it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching and have yourselves a great weekend.